right back, Charlie.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. As Ian Wright just said there, people deluded, I'm back again. The most handsome YouTuber in this scene. I'm joined by the beautiful auntie, Jess. She knows Arsenal. Make sure you're subscribing. How you doing, man? We got a lot to discuss. It's a bit deflating for me personally, but how you doing on a personal note?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good. I'm surviving. This doesn't sound so bad. I already made peace with it before the game started. So I'm not as like, I'm deflated, but I'm not like angry. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of like,
why did you make peace with it already? Because some would say, you know, it was 2-2 from the first leg going over there. We've been in decent form, kind of. Why did you make peace with it?
I feel like just every season around this time, like, I just feel like the crumble is coming. And I didn't love the way that we approached at either game against Porto. Like, I kind of felt like, okay, like it was cool to get through. And the way that we did, it was like super emotional. But if we're honest, we made hard work of a team that I think a lot of us felt like we should have not just glided past, but
should have been easier than we made it.
Should have been easier. And then the first game against Bayern, I didn't love that either. I felt like the nerves were creeping in. Then we lose against Villa, and I'm like, this just feels very much like Arsenal in April. And
the April curse.
Yeah, I didn't really think, like, I didn't have the feeling that we would get it done. I know that sounds bad because you should always believe in the team, but I'm like, I just didn't feel it that we were going to get it done, you know? So might sound negative, but yeah. And I think until they prove that in April, they're not going to crumble, I'm always going to kind of be looking at them funny, like, you about to do it again, you know?
Oh, so unfortunate, man. And you know what? It's sad because I felt like that. You've obviously said that. A lot of fans in the comments in my videos have said that. It's almost like you're disappointed, but you're not surprised. And on the face of it, we should have been filled with optimism. But it's like we and you have been saying in our streams. I just think we're our best friends and worst enemies at times. What did you make of the game in its entirety then, now that's all said and done?
I feel like this is going to sound harsh, but I could have just totally like not done that game. It was a waste of time. You know, I just felt like
that's harsh.
I think it was a waste of time just in terms of like the Champions League. You know, the other games had so many moments where players did very like, I don't know, they had moments of brilliance. You know, even if you went out, you had those moments. You know, I know Barcelona probably felt hard done by. You weren't. But, you know, they probably felt hard done by, but they can look back at some of their performances and be like, yeah, some of these guys really showed out, like Rafinha or, you know, Lamine Yamal or whatever.
You taking Rafinha now?
No. PSG, you know, they had moments from like Dembele, whatever, Sabitzer for Dortmund. Sancho even played well. And I think we will look back on these Champions League games and say, did we really have any of those moments? Did we feel like any of our players had those individual moments of brilliance? Probably not. I think they played within themselves. They looked like they were afraid to lose rather than desperate to win. And I was just hoping, like in those first 10 minutes, I was like, I just want to see a team that's not afraid to lose. That's willing to like, yeah, show a little bit of personality. And I felt like it was the complete opposite. You know, I didn't see anything really from Saka. Like, and I'm not putting out like individuals because I don't think anybody really played that well. But, you know, you're looking at the Sakas and the Martinellis and, you know, players like that, even like Odegaard to a certain extent, Declan Rice, and they were just flat, you know. So if they're just going to go out and play flat like that and play not to lose, kind of like how we go to the Etihad, you know, and try to keep it tight and go away with the draw. In Champions League knockouts, you can't do that. You have to play to win. There is no draw. You know, you're just going to go to penalties. And quite frankly, we're not beating them in penalties. Let's keep
You
it.
never know against Porto. You never know, even though I'd slightly disagree with what I'm saying. But you're right
I
on
mean,
that.
Neuer he looked serious in that
He got
game.
away with murder across these two
He
legs.
did.
But
He
that's the
definitely
dark
did.
arts needed, man.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's just kind of how I felt. Like I want that 2 hours back, and I'll never get it back. Like, you know, like I just would at least want them to at least swing a little bit.
Throw some
Swing.
punches, go down fighting.
Yeah, exactly. I just felt like they kind of just let it happen. And the worst part was once they scored, we didn't even look like scoring, putting them under any sort of pressure, anything. I really want those 2 hours back.
You touched on it. Why do you think we lack players that are capable of providing individual brilliance, or like somebody in the chat said, X factor? Is it a thing where our players don't have it? We need to buy it? Because there's been times in the Prem they've done it. Didn't do it against Bayern, but what would it be for you?
See, I disagree with some people that say that our players don't have the ability to have individual moments of brilliance. Do I think that we still need to add that to the team? I think two things can be true at the same time. Like, we know what we fucking need, you guys. Like, nothing
Facts.
has changed. Like, we need a striker and we need a midfielder. Like, we need air. Like, it's just so obvious. But, you know, you have certain players like Saka and Odegaard whose main qualities are creative, and we're asking them to be 20 goal per season strikers. We're asking them to carry like a large burden, like, and that's not their natural skill set. And so, yeah, do I think that sometimes they lack in the big games? Yeah, I do. I think some of it is the way that we set up. You have to look at some of the way that we set up. Martinelli and Saka look a lot like fullbacks in big games, don't they? Odegaard is doing a lot of central defensive midfielding for somebody that's supposed to be a creative player. So I feel like in the way that we set up in big games sometimes doesn't allow for our players to just focus on having big moments. We focus a lot on defensive solidity and making sure the other team doesn't hurt us instead of hurting the other team. And we have players that we're requiring to do things that are outside of their skill set. And when they don't do it, we're like, oh, well, they're shit. And I'm like, look at the creative numbers for Odegaard and Saka. Those are creative players. They need somebody to feed. And that's not Havertz. That's not Havertz. That's not Jesus. It's none of these guys. We need a striker.
Facts.
And they need to find Martinelli, because Martinelli was our main goal scorer last season, came up with 15 goals, non-penalty goals, and he's just been missing. He's been missing. So it's a tough one. You know, I think some of our players have been let down by some of the recruitment around the other positions that, you know, they play. They're being asked to do things that don't suit. Like Odegaard is one of the worst tacklers in the world. I do not want to see him playing that role. He's trying and it's great, but I'd like to see him do more creative stuff. But listen, you don't have a left center mid that can do those things. So you're asking Declan Rice to do things that are outside of his main skill set, Odegaard to do things outside of his main skill set. You're asking Saka to be our main guy, our main goal scorer, our main creative player. And it's so easy to clock us. So easy, especially in big games, because those teams are ready for it. So yeah.
People said it before the game, you know, the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Left.
It's a long-winded answer to say that we need those players to create those individual moments, but Arteta also needs to be freaking for real and not expect players that are not natural 20 goal per season goal scorers to be that, because they're not going to do it. I just don't think that that's Saka and Odegaard's bag. But if they don't score and they don't perform, nothing is happening.
You said it there. You know, if Saka has an off day, we're kind of in the shit. If Odegaard ain't able to influence the game, we're in problems. Our left hand side at this point, honestly, I'm exhausted. You know, it's a mixture of things because you know, the void of Granit Xhaka, the inconsistencies with who plays on the left hand side. Obviously, we see Martinelli, Jesus, and Trossard all struggle individually and all get chances there. So it's all kind of lopsidedness. I slightly disagree with you in that I don't think we've got players with the X factor, specifically with the Champions League. And a bit of it is because of experience. A bit of it is tying into what you said in that. Long story short, these players are learning how to do these things. I think Saka has that, but he's not. It's not like an Alexis Sanchez. And you know, the games in the champs are decided by fine margins, and we haven't quite clocked that we need to get the onside. And there's actually been a lot of times Mikel Arteta has come out and said we've been competitive and all this sort of stuff, which is true, but it's about getting it over the line. Of course, we're not Real Madrid. We don't have their players. We don't have the pedigree they have. But 9 times out of 10, they're the not underdogs in the game, but it looks like it could go left for them. They find a way. So I guess it is a bit of a learning curve. And you've made a great point there. I do feel because of what we're doing in a systemic way, you know, Saka and Martinelli, they're having to do too much defending. I would like Arteta to be a bit like Arsene Wenger in the sense of, I know it's a system game. I know we've got a great system, but you need to promote these individual moments of brilliance. Do you think Arteta is too focused on the system, or we're too focused on the system as a team?
He's too stiff, man. He's too stiff. Like it sucks because it's like I think that he understands how to create a system that keeps people from being able to hurt us, but we always have questions about the attack. I feel like there's only been one season where we didn't have questions about the attack, and that was last season. But we even still struggled to score goals when it really matters.
Man. We need to put the ball in the back of the net.
Exactly. So I think Arteta's system is too rigid, especially up front. Those players can't get close to each other.
And D's and F's, man.
Yeah, it's
plan A or bust.
I don't think. I mean, I'm not. It could be. I'm not. I don't want to say that like Martinelli was doing this on purpose, but it always sticks in my mind that when he went on, you know, he was on international duty with Brazil, and he said like, "Oh, I like the way that we play because we can get closer together, we can connect with each other, we can play with more freedom." I don't think he was sending shots, but when you look at the difference between like when Saka plays for England, when some of our players play international, whatever, they do look different and they have more freedom. When they come to us, it's like everything is so like scripted. And what really irritates me is that we're so scripted that you'll see good players like Rice, like Saka, that will look up and you know that whatever we practiced, that person was supposed to be open. And even if they're not open, they still pass it there. Like, well, that's what you're supposed to be. They cannot play off the cuff, or they don't play off the cuff. I think they can, but it's been coached out of them. They need like a 2-week training session, or a training camp with Arsene, or go to Hale End. They need it.
Man
like
said
they need to relearn like how to pass and move, and but it's not just that they can't do it. I think that Mikel doesn't want it. He wants it so like he wants to control it. He
must plan everything down to a T.
Yeah, he needs to let go. Like, it's good in certain ways. I love our defensive solidity, but my goodness, some of the attacking performances in this Champions League have been for an Arsenal team.
In the latter stages, it's been, let's be honest, in the latter stages of this tournament, it's been terrible. In the group stages, it was amazing. But then again, like ultimately, football's decided in both boxes. If you don't defend well, which to be honest, including the Aston Villa game, we haven't done in the last 3 games. If you can't create or take chances, you're never going to win. And I must admit, defensively as a team, we've been crap. Like obviously 2 crap goals at the Emirates, the 2 at Aston Villa we won't get onto. I was really disappointed with the goal we conceded yesterday, purely because you know the margins are so strong. You've seen it in the first leg that yes, Bayern Munich are a great team. People shouldn't look at their form, but if you give them an inch, they're going to take a yard. And the cross has come from the right. The right. Then it's gone to the left, our right-hand side. Benjamin White's not closed it down. The ball's come into the box between Martinelli, Declan Rice, and Tomiyasu. Raya's positioning isn't the best. We've gone to sleep. You give teams an inch, they take a yard, and this is what the Champions League's about. And I won't say we're defeative, but whenever we play these big games and it goes against us, it's like the comments after are like, we've competed, we've done well. It's just the fine margins didn't go our way, which is true. We have competed. There was a bit of a respect. We didn't get battered, but we didn't get over the line. Like, there's no shame in losing to Bayern Munich. I think we've given a good account of ourselves in the champs, but it's just a feeling. I don't know how you feel, but it's like, what more could have been done? Like, I look at the Martinelli chance, I look at the Benjamin White chance in the first leg, I look at how we defend, and I just feel like, what could have been? Like, could we have been in that semis?
We always leave something on the table. We always leave questions unanswered. Like, it's always, well, what if we could have, not drawn to West Ham? What if we could, it's always what ifs. And because when we get to this stage of the season, there are too many performances that are well below the standard. It's not like teams beat us, we beat ourselves. And I feel like it's so annoying. Like, it really is. Like, I can name so many of these. That's why I'm like, it's not just about Champions League. It's not just it's Champions League. It's against, Newcastle 2 years ago, 2-0. pathetic performance, like when you need to win. We went to Spurs and got slapped. You know, we lost to Crystal Palace 3-0, got slapped. Why? Why are these performances keep happening? The 3 draws, going to the Etihad and getting slapped, playing against Brighton at home, getting slapped, playing against Sporting, not going through. Like, it's not just Champions League. Arsenal, when you have to win, we don't. Like, that's just, if you gotta win, we're not doing it.
Sad.
I
It's
think
sad
it's
to say, but you're right.
mentality. Genuinely. Like, that's why whenever we go out of the cup competitions, I get so angry because I'm like, people are always say like, well, it's because we rotated. I was like, well, even when we play a strong lineup, we go out. If Raya had not saved those penalties, we would be having these conversations a lot sooner. When we have to
We're very
win,
emotional side at times.
yeah, when we have to win in a cup that's a knockout, as soon as we got out of the Champions League group stages, we look like a very different team. Why? Because we had to win. And it's just we don't have it up here. And I am frustrated about the like Edu saying he's super proud of them, and then the
Don't you think that's harsh, yes, man? But go on. That's
I
harsh
just
though.
don't think we need to see that. I feel like you just say that behind closed doors because
So you think that's emotional frustration on fans' parts then?
no, I think that like this whole idea that we should just be happy to be involved.
Oh no, I'm not with that.
Like, because that's what it feels like you're saying to me. Like we're proud of getting to the quarterfinals and like what? Like that's not the standard. You know, we preach a lot of the standards, but I do feel like there's an underbelly of contentment with just being in a title race, just being in the Champions League, just be, you know. And I'm like, so what phase we supposed to be in?
I've never been one for this phase thing. I think personally, when we look at Arsenal fans, I think there's no in between. I think you've got Arteta sexuals, like Arteta could shit in his hands and clap, and people would say that's innovative. And I also feel you've got people that just don't like Arteta. So whenever we've taken losses, which have been minimal, they reared their heads. And I think the truth is in between. You know, again, while it comes across as a bit loserish with Edu, I can concede that it is our first time back in the Champions League. We can be disappointed, but we didn't get embarrassed. We competed with Bayern Munich, but again, it's a case of what if, and that's where it comes back to. Is like, like you said there, it's a bit of contentment or being content. Basically, it's like we don't really. It's like we'd like to win and things like that, but winning is not everything, and we do need to get into that scenario. And I wanted to ask you, do you feel because on one hand, because I said this in my last live stream before I went live with you, I feel we have got strong foundations. I think we've got young, impressionable, good players. We've obviously got Declan Rice. We've got quote unquote decent squad players. But then when I break it down, and I break it down to Arsenal fans, you've got Kai Havertz up front, not to get at him, but we don't have a natural goal scorer. Big up Jorginho, who's one of the better players yesterday, but he can't play 38 games, nor is he a long-term partner for Declan Rice. Unfortunately, our players have been ran into the ground because there's a lack of rotation. So where you look at our project and getting back to being competitive, that's spot on. Where we look at winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues, do you think our foundations are strong enough? Do you think our players are reliable? Because really and truly, who in this team can you rely on? I would say Bukayo Saka, regardless of what people have to say. I'd say Declan Rice. I'd say Martin Odegaard. I'd say Saliba and Gabriel, Benjamin White. And there probably is a couple of others, but I'm scratching my head over a 20-man squad.
Can we rely upon them? I mean, I just feel like
that you bet your life for 30 of the 38 Premier League games, they're going to show up.
Regardless. Oh, it's on one hand. This
is what I'm saying.
On one hand. Like it genuinely is. They need the fact that we're still talking about key squad, like key members of the starting 11 needing to be looked at. I do feel like you have to look at recruitment and say,
100%.
Why is it taking so long to figure this out? Like since Aubameyang has left, we've needed a goal scorer. Gabby Jesus was fine, but there's still been multiple like windows after that where it's like, okay, so we're going to go get the striker, the midfielder, like some of these things that people are talking about, the winger. It's like, we've been talking about this. We just haven't, but we buy other players in this guise of like, we're going to get this versatile player that can do a lot.
But they're not masters of one.
They genuinely can't do anything well. Like
that's
consistently. Well, what is Kai Havertz good at?
The basics. That's the thing. Like I feel we got to be honest with Kai Havertz, and I'm not scapegoating him. I actually think he's done all right. I think he's part of the squad. I'm not saying you are, But that's my thing with Arsenal fans and actually Arteta. It's like we're praising Kai Havertz for the basics, working hard, not to diss him, but you work hard, great. You drop into midfield and put a shift in, great. Of late, and to be honest, at Chelsea, you're not a goal scorer, but you have had that knack of scoring some important goals. So we're praising you for the bare minimum. That's what I mean about, is the foundation strong enough? Because go on.
It's not. It's
exactly
because you just haven't done what you needed to do. Like, just imagine. And this is why it's not just about Kai. It's not. It's
definitely not just about Kai. No one misunderstand us in the chat.
He's just always going to end up being the biggest conversation, because when Arteta goes into press conferences and say we don't have a 30, 40 goal per season striker, it just doesn't add up, because you had an opportunity to buy a striker multiple times and you didn't, right? But Kai stands out to me as a missed opportunity and a player that fits in that versatile but doesn't really fit any sort of like, he's not elite at anything, not any one thing. And then you have somebody like, at a lesser scale, Vieira, who I like, and I think is talented.
Him, but where is he, Jess, man?
But yeah, I like him. I think he's talented, but we spent 34 million on him in the same window where we could have bought for the same price Paquetá, and he was supposed to be this versatile player that was supposed to play multiple positions. And
you know, would have been versatile for me, Kudus. That's the level of versatility I personally want.
And so when you look at those two players and you think, okay, that's 65 plus 35 is whatever. It's like 100 million. You could have bought a striker and a midfielder for those numbers and been done with the starting 11, basically. So I don't really buy all this, like, you know, we should be talking about depth, but we can't even talk about depth yet, because we haven't even finished the 11.
The depth's a byproduct of us doing dumb stuff, to aid your point as well, Jess.
Yeah, it's like, and yeah, we have one of the thinnest squads in the league. Well, you continuously hold on to players that are not reliable, window after window. Huh?
Arteta did that to himself. If this was in his first year at the job, as much as I think he's done a lot great, we have to be honest. And going back to what I mean about Arteta sexuals, if you rate someone so highly, like if we rate Bukayo Saka, right? If he has a great game, we're singing from the rooftops. If he's anonymous like he was against Bayern Munich, we're asking questions. It just feels like I'm not a fan of the Mikel Arteta out brigade. If you want him out when you can provide logic, likewise you want him to stay, that's great. But I just feel with the Arteta in brigade, or the Arteta sexuals, as I said, the ones that suck him off like Mia Khalifa, if you rate him so highly, then ask questions. He's way too smart to be in a scenario like this. We say he considers everything and sees variables they're not. If this was in your first year, I'd hear it. The second year, and actually the last 2 years, excluding this year, the last 2 years before, we've seen what injuries can do and impact this team. For me, it's boring, because it was extremely it's romantic if we did well, but it's extremely naive to expect losing Granit Xhaka, not addressing midfield, even if Xhaka stayed and upgraded him. You mentioned the striker. Clearly, we need a winger to ease the burden. We was never going to rock up and do serious things in the Champions League. So we've done okay for our first year back, and our first year back in the quarterfinals. But it just aids your point. Like, how much times are you going to do the same things and expect something different? Like, we've shot ourselves in the foot. Then you're relying on other players to play more games, and then they look spent and get injuries and all of that kind of jazz. As you can see here, look at the minutes of people played.
I mean, when you look beyond, like below Ramsdale, and you look at that group,
just
like Aaron Ramsdale is a fucking backup, and you got
Ethan's a young G, so we'll allow him. But the rest,
yeah, of course, not Nori, but like Vieira, Emile, Reese, and Thomas Partey in particular.
Injury FC.
Yeah, these right, like 3 of those are midfielders that that did not even get a look in a game where we had to score. He brought on Eddie. And I know that Eddie's a goal scorer, but like, let's be
and to be
freaking
fair,
real.
no real minutes even for Eddie. So that you know, the Eddie thing,
wild.
Exactly. The Eddie thing for me was like, when he brought on Eddie, that was like when Smith Rowe came on against Aston Villa. I'm like, all right, you're out of ideas, really and truly. It's like when we drew to Bournemouth, when he brought on Nelson and Smith Rowe. I was like, yeah, slightly, you're out of ideas, but we got away with it.
Can you also look at, like, you know, and this is, I get that the knee injury and all that kind of stuff. Jesus, he hasn't played. Like, he's somebody that's on a wage of somebody that should be closer to the top of that list.
First name on the team sheet.
Yeah, really. He's closer down to Trossard, and we know Trossard is more of like a rotational option. So again, it's just, you know, I could have told you to move on from Thomas Partey in the summer, and I still have people yelling at me to this day that he's the answer. Look at his minutes. Look at his
Or
minutes. He
bring in the
genuinely,
effing centre mid, man. Like,
yeah, it's like you just have to look at it and be
so
like, okay,
naive.
so Mikel is very ruthless with certain players and certain things, but he's not ruthless when I think he really counts. And that's
To be
with
fair, I think we try and move on party, but wages and whatnot. I'll be fair to the club, but I agree with you. It's like for me, it's like we're saying the same things and we're surprised. To be fair to party, last season you were fit, but that was an anomaly over your time here. And you can see the contrast, like with the greatest of respect to Kirill, who's done well, and a couple of other squad players, you can see the direct contrast. You could argue based on this, the squad players, whether it's Kirill, Smith Rowe, Fabio Vieira, Nelson, injuries play a part, but none of them are really trusted. And then you're over leveraging young, impressionable, volatile kind of players, and then we're in this kind of mess that we find ourselves in.
I mean, Saliba, look at that. That's like
Mad
that's
thing, innit?
wild. You know, he should have,
Madness.
and you have to think about that period where we were playing amazing after Dubai and we were wiping teams away 6-0, 5-0, 4-0. And some of these guys played full 90s. Full 90s.
To be
So
fair, them
like,
times he was taking people off, but same way, yeah, you're right.
yeah, it's like
He only wanted to take Saka off when he could have got a hat trick. It's crazy. Like,
yeah, come on now. Like, come on, you have to this is, but again, I'm bored because how many, like every time we get to April, we're talking about the squad, players looking tired when we get to the biggest part of the season, mentality, you know, we
facts.
don't have a striker, you know, we're talking injury, we're talking about the same shit every year. And I'm tired of talking about it because
Facts.
this is just it. Like, unless Mikel does something different, this is just what it is.
So where do you look at the gaffer then, man? Because I'm sure, you know, you're like me, Mikel Arteta. He's done great things. He's doing great things. He's going to have a great future and whatnot. But it does feel like, obviously, you know, you're playing a monster in Manchester City, European powerhouses where the Champions League is concerned. I don't think any fan has a God-given right to expect to win it. But it feels like we engineer our own issues, or we make things harder than it needs to be for ourselves, or make the pursuit of winning major honors tougher. And I said it on the stream last time we see. I was like, I think the conversation now shifts to, can Mikel Arteta get over the line? And many people are saying, do you know what? Next season is your first real season where there's expectation. And if you don't, yeah, safe.
Listen, in theory and on paper that makes sense, but when I'm actually watching with my own two eyes,
He's here for
I
time.
think I'm not sure, just because we're not even getting to like close to finals or anything in any sort of competition. And that's my thing. It's like sometimes you have to get to finals, you have to be really close. Like, and it's just the manner in which we crumble and it looks the same. As much as people are like, well, we're getting closer. I'm not sure if we're getting closer in terms of the team is getting better, right? Better. But are we actually getting closer to winning things? I don't know if
Yes
we
and no.
are, because every year when we get to April, we fall apart the same, no matter what competition it is, no matter what's going on. So I don't know if Arteta is the one to get us over the line. I've said this before, like that's why I'm not too ding on like the Arteta out thing, because I'm like, there's no definitive evidence in my opinion in either direction. But I think we can really say that like we're not sure. Anybody that's saying they know for sure Mikel is going to be able to do it, I think is just hoping.
Dishonest, man.
Yeah, because there's no evidence since we've won the FA Cup that we're getting closer to winning honors, which means like, okay, instead of just getting to like the manner in which we go out of like domestic cups is ridiculous. We don't even get to semis,
Since we won the FA
finals.
Cup, it's been embarrassing.
Yeah, we're not going to Wembley. You know, it's the same. It is the same. And the performance yesterday was just like, you know, the
Flat.
performance against Sporting, just like the performance against Porto, just like Olympiacos. It's all kind of like the same. Get to that final game in the tie and just not perform. We're still like, we're not that much closer, in my opinion, to winning the honors. He can make the team as solid as he, you know, and we're kind of like a really good league team that can like get a lot of points. Like that's what he's making us into, a better league team. But that doesn't mean we're getting closer to winning trophies, because April is still a big question mark. And that's all that really matters is
like
April.
you said there, like I think we are getting closer, but it's like, how close are you getting? Because in many ways you're so close, you're far. Because as you said, we've seen it with the injuries, with the April period, with how we rotate and rest players. And Arteta, in my opinion, has got himself in that kind of double-edged sword where I'm a big fan. I'm not with rotation for rotation's sake, for what it's worth. I think you need to play your same teams and there's something with stability. But it's almost like, because of how you've assembled this squad, when you take a few players out of this team, you start to see the absences. So you can't really afford to do that. And it's a double-edged sword. You take them out, we're in issues. You keep them in, we're running them into the ground. It's like, looking at that team, who is really unsellable for you, man? Like, let's just go through this quickly. Like, what? Easy. Saliba's unsellable. Everyone's got a price for what it's worth, but Saliba, I'm pretty sure we'll both keep. Gabriel will both keep. Rice will both keep. Odegaard, Saka, Ben White,
That's it.
Raya
That's
will
it.
keep.
Stop.
Huh?
Stop.
Stop.
Ben White and above.
Oh, Jess, it's getting a bit techie now.
Unsellable. Like, I would not entertain anything. Ben White and above.
I'd entertain anything for anyone. Everyone's got a price, but yeah, I would say
Ben White and above. Everybody else, I don't see as, and I know Martinelli is probably the most unpopular opinion there, but people. So if you don't know my opinion on Gabriel Martinelli, my opinion is that I don't view him in the same light as I do Saka and Odegaard.
He's definitely not in that realm yet.
Yeah, so Ben White and above for me, and again, it goes back to the conversation that we had. Who can I rely on? Who do I know is going to put in, for at least 95% of the season is going to have really good performances? That is what they've done this season. The 5% is smelly. It is. But the 95% is there. And if the next 5 beyond that had stepped up at all, maybe we could carry some of these poor performances from the Odegaards or the Sakas, but we can't because these other guys don't do anything. And that's probably a little bit harsh on Trossard because he has stepped up in some games.
It is very, very harsh on Trossard.
Yeah, but in terms of unsellable, it's Ben White and above.
Wait, let me stop you. I'm not. Oh, you said Ben White and above. Raya. Oh yeah, you said Ben White and above. Raya's below. I'm not gonna lie, Raya. I like him. I think he's done well, but of recent, I think his positioning's been a bit shaky. Just like I wouldn't blame him for the goal yesterday, but his positioning is really starting to highlight some flaws in his game. Kai Havertz, I think we both have to keep him because we're not going to get £65 million back. And to be fair, he's good for the squad. Martinelli, you've got Brazilian. I'm staying with you, innit? I'm staying with you. Everyone's got a price. I wouldn't, like Jess said, I wouldn't put you into the unsellables yet, but you're here. Zinchenko.
Well, the one thing I'll say about Zinchenko is that he was everybody's. Oh, sorry.
Hey, Zinchenko heard you. Oh man, let's just wait for her, people. Bit nerve-wracking. She said, "Hold on." She said, "Hold on." She said, "Hold on." So I guess it's down to me to be Declan Rice and carry this team. So until Jess comes back, for me, Martinelli's not going nowhere. Zinni, money talks, man. If rumors are right with that 40 million stuff, let's keep it moving. But I think there's a use for Zinni, a very minimal use for him, especially if Timber's back. Minimal use, cheerleader settings. Gabriel Jesus, I know you're all upset with him. I'm rocking with Gabriel Jesus. I think he could be a squad player for us. The same goes for Trossard. Eddie Nketiah, you've scored a hat-trick for this club. You've won an FA Cup. You've worn the number 14. You've come from Haaland. You need to cut.
Sorry, but what I was saying about Zinchenko is that as much as he was everybody's enemy number 1 against Villa, you couldn't blame him against Bayern because it's not just about I just genuinely don't think people are getting it. It's not the lineup. This team, no matter who's playing, when it's April, they just crumble. I don't know what to tell you.
To blame for the Villa thing?
No, I think
people watch the game again. You can't just say it's him, honestly.
Well, I got absolutely massacred because I was like, guys, honestly, I just didn't see the game like you guys did. I thought everybody was quote unquote good in the first half, except for they didn't finish their chances. Everybody tired. And when Arteta made all those subs, it caused confusion. And really, people blamed him for that first goal. Watch it back.
He's not alone.
Rice and Martinelli are not marking Bailey. They're not near him. And Havertz barely gets his leg up to stop the cross, very similarly to the way Ben White yesterday didn't get his leg up for the cross. It's not just an individual, but it's certain players, if we lose, it's like it's all on them, but they
Yeah,
couldn't do
public
that
enemy number
yesterday.
one.
They couldn't, exactly. But like you were saying, Zinchenko, like he's not somebody that I feel like is unsellable. I don't think, a lot of these players have been good, but not like amazing. I like Zinchenko, I like Jesus, but if a good bid came in, I'd consider it more for Zinchenko than Jesus, though.
Jesus, I'm 4 goals is appalling. Yesterday you peed me off. Brazilian, I'm staying with my Brazilian duds. Don't give up on it. Trust me, people, don't give up on Jesus. I know it's mad. Don't give up. Don't give up. I might have slightly even given up myself, but don't give up, man. Don't give up on Jesus. Trossard is more than welcome to stay. Eddie Nketiah, as I was saying, one love. You've worn the number 14. You've scored hat tricks. Technically hat tricks. You've come through Haaland. 40 million if that's true. Safe. You can't help us. Like, you're not levels. It's unfortunate. Jorginho, I'm keeping him for another year, but it's one where it's a bit like, obviously, nobody knew Xhaka was going to leave in the summer, but it's almost like, I think you don't always have to replace a player when they've left. I felt with Xhaka, and Partey last year, we should have got the Rice and got somebody else so that they naturally get demoted in the squad. And I think that needs to be the case with Jorginho. Clearly, no one can convince me Jorginho hasn't played more than Arteta would have liked. And that's no slight on Jorginho. He was one of the better players yesterday. He's a good player, but doesn't give us longevity. It's certain conditions for him. To be honest, he got away with murder against Aston Villa and Spurs at the Emirates. But it is what it is. I'm keeping him. But with Jorginho, you don't even know what he wants to do. He might say, I want to stay. He might say, I want to try Italy another time. I would keep him.
I think that for the betterment of us and to press Arsenal to do the right thing, I almost hope Jorginho is desperate to go because I just don't trust the club. I don't. I feel like if you
She
have
means like we'll
Jorginho,
have to sign a centre mid, folks, if you misunderstand. And I
yeah,
agree.
like I need them to know that genuinely we need 2 midfielders, genuinely, but we'll probably only get one. But
And this is what's upsetting me.
I can always see them slithering out of the midfield because it's like, yeah, but we're gonna buy a striker, so then Havertz can move to midfield, and we have Jorginho. No, go
No.
get midfield, please. Like,
Locatelli, Douglas Luiz, Coop Miners, I don't care who it is.
just get
Fufana,
some.
pattern that
Genuinely,
midfield.
it's not that it cannot be this hard. And I know people are like, okay, well, we're just learning that Odegaard is not good enough to carry the midfield, and I'm like, who
And I think
really
that's cap.
besides Kevin De Bruyne can perform to a level of which like this midfielder is like carrying the whole thing, like,
And it's
and he
cap,
doesn't
he
even
can.
really do it because he has like be serious.
He can. He's just not Superman. He fully can. He's just not Superman. And for me, I've said it. We're going to live or die by midfield. We've got some frailties that have reared its head recently defensively, but I think we're on an upward trajectory in that regards. We need a striker, but I think we're doing okay to a certain point in the final third. We're not going to get to where we need to until midfield is addressed. Declan Rice is having to do way too much. Odegaard's doing his things. Jorginho, when he comes in, is done well. Other people have. But it's like we've got 2 pieces to the 3-person puzzle, and we're not going to get there, if I'm honest with you. Tomiyasu can stay. Kirill can stay. The only reason I would sell Kirill is if he says, I want to leave, or there's an offer we can't refuse. Kirill, you're calm in what you're doing. Ramsdale, if you want to keep being number 2, it is what it is. Partey is a techie one for me because on one hand, I think you need to go and I've given up with you. But I do think there is some rhetoric and logic between keeping you and you can help us. But if you're never fit, you're not available. So we can forget about that. Emil Smith-Rowe then. I know where this is going.
If you're not
Don't break my heart now,
him,
Jess, man. We've been getting on.
No, if you're not gonna play him and give him like a sustained amount of like, performances, then why are you keeping him around? Like, I don't really understand. And then I also think like with Fabio Vieira and Emil, they're both number 10s. Let's just be real. They're both number 10s. But Arteta's
the 8 thing though.
But see exactly what you're saying. Like, they can do the 8 thing, but is that their best use of what they do best?
Do you know what? I think it's always for Smith Rowe. I've always said I think his future is going to make him end up as an 8. I've always maintained that when he was playing on the left, but I can see why you would say that, and you're not going to get there ahead of Odegaard. But for both of them, bro, if you're not fit, it's irrelevant. I think Fabio Vieira is more likely to stay than Smith Rowe. He's got longer in his contract. He costs 30 odd million quid. What do you make of Fabio? Because that's a player we both agree on, and it's a weird one because we defend him. He's obviously talented, but he's another one, injuries, and we never see you. And he was on the bench yesterday.
I just saw on socials that somebody posted his performance against, I think it was like Fulham, and like he played against Fulham, he played against Everton. I think he played the first half against Spurs. So
Yeah,
in the
he
beginning
didn't
of the
do well
season,
against Spurs.
he was being used.
Then he got
But
injured.
I think he had some uneven performances. I don't actually remember them saying for sure he got injured at the beginning of the season. He just
He did.
disappeared. And then he got injured after he got that red card. So I don't really know. But my point with that is the amount of times that Fabio has been on the bench and not used. I'm just like, so what are we actually doing here? You know, what are we actually doing here? Because the only way to get these players, I feel like, to get integrated, especially in midfield, is to give them almost like 3 or 4 games like without moving them, even if they have uneven performances. But I
Like
do
you've
feel
got
like
5 to 10 games, you're just gonna play. You've got 10
yeah,
games to show something.
exactly. But we don't do that. I feel like you get one chance, and if you're not perfect, even if you do play well, I'm going back to my safety blanket. I'm going back to my safety blanket. And so if you're not gonna, I think Fabio Vieira genuinely could like add some of the things that we always talk about, like that cuteness in the pockets and being able to find those passes and relieve some of
You need to
the
cook him
creative
some food
burden
though, man. He needs to get
off of
stronger
Odegaard.
though.
I understand. I understand that part,
But I
but
agree.
this whole idea that he just cannot touch the pitch is like insane to me. So
So
yeah,
for you, does Arteta trust these guys then? Like
if he
half the
doesn't,
names you said.
move them on. Like,
That's
because
true.
there's no reason to keep them around just to collect dust. Because what Arteta also doesn't do, he does not keep you integrated and warm while you're not playing. You just go cold, you know? And so either make a decision on Emil and Fabio this summer, you know, because if neither one of them are somebody that you can rely upon, move them both on and bring in somebody that can,
Facts.
or put your faith into at least one of them and give them a run of games. Like the world is not going to end. The fact that he felt so confident in giving Havertz runs in midfield, whether he was playing well or not, but he won't do the same with
That's a
Vieira or
65
Emil.
million pound head on the line, man. He had to. I think that was a political one, if I'm honest with you, Jesse. He had no choice. You know, he's got to make
He has to
out
do
that,
it with the rest of them.
why I played him
I
or bought
mean,
him better yet.
yeah, no, I get that. I just feel
Which is
like,
wrong.
yeah, shit or get off the pot with these guys, because I do think both of them can add some level of quality to the team that we miss, but he doesn't want that. If you want to play with 2 DMs and Odegaard, then move these dudes on because you're never going to play them. I don't know what to tell you.
Would you start Fabio Vieira right wing and drop Saka then for Wolves? It just come to my head. Because many people
Um,
are saying, you know what, drop Saka. I don't really agree with it because there's 6 games left, and I know
What?
Saka looks tired, but
Saka
you
is
have to play for
like
me.
he's definitely somebody that people turn on quite quickly when he doesn't have a good game. Like some of the big mouths in the in the fan base are like Saka.
Because it's cool to chat shit.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, so I don't know what it is with Saka, but listen, like he didn't have a good game against Bayern, and maybe it would be nice to switch things up. I just feel like Fabio Vieira is somebody that needs to play in the midfield because Arteta is not going to modify his tactics to suit Fabio Vieira on the wing because it's just different. He's not going to be able to, like Saka,
It's
the
not
way
a
that
Cole
we play on
Palmer
that
Phil
right-hand
Foden kind
side.
of winner thing.
Yeah, it's choreographed and like, customized for
This is
Saka.
where his starts coming, Fabio, realistically.
Yeah, so that's when I expect to see him. There, Saka will start, and this looks tough. Like these fixtures now, like they looked good. Like before we played Bayern, these look great. Now these
Such
look
is
like,
life,
oh
innit?
my gosh, like how many games are we gonna not
It's peak.
win? You
It's
know?
peak.
Yeah.
How
So
confident are you then with them? Like, all right, let's predict them. Let's predict them. Like Wolves,
away,
I'm gonna say slimy 2-1 win, man.
yeah, I think I don't know. 2-1 win, if not a 1-1 draw, something like that.
Chelsea, I'm saying win 2-0.
You really want me to be honest?
Honest, man. That's what we want. Honesty, Jess, man. We don't want to lie.
I don't think we're gonna beat Chelsea at home.
Give us a score prediction.
I think it's gonna be like a draw, like a
I'll
like a
take up what,
equivalent,
1-1?
like a 2-2, like a
All right,
something
we'll
like
take that. Spurs.
See, I think we always have like some random away win that nobody thinks we're gonna get. That will be the one. We'll beat them away.
See, now I'm a bit different. I actually think we'll draw or lose. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
Bournemouth, respectfully to Bournemouth, I expect
We
us
have
to
to
run
beat
right.
them.
Yeah, man, 3-4-0. We need to like give you owe the fans after the last 3 games. I think, yeah, I'm going 3-0. You're going with a win. I actually think we lose at Old Trafford. I actually think the only times we drop points is Spurs and Chelsea. I think between them is 4 points from United and United and Spurs, and I think we'll
Yeah,
beat them.
we're definitely. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we cannot play the actual players. We always play the badge when we go to Old Trafford. We'll be too nervous, and they have nothing to
Dodgy
live for.
VAR as well.
Yeah, they have nothing to live for, and so I can already see how that one's gonna go. And then Everton at home is gonna be nothing on the line, 5-0 win in the sunshine.
Trust Smith Rowe and Fabio might score before they leave, and Eddie, yep, 100%.
Yeah,
We've been
one of
it. We've
those.
been it
We'll get
before,
to see
man.
Timber for Arteta will put Timber out there, and everybody will be like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's
And
great!"
then we're like, next
But
season we go again, guys and
yep,
girls. And then yeah,
exactly.
it
But
continues. It continues.
there's a yeah, between Manchester United and Tottenham is probably the ones where it's gonna be like a loss that's really like shit. I think it's gonna be Man United. Because we always get one where everybody thinks we're gonna go and
We
lose
don't
and we
travel
don't.
well to Old Trafford, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Like,
we
when did we
don't.
last win there in the league? Sure, when
We just
Adebayor
don't.
scored or something.
Yeah, we play because we play the badge and the the theater of dreams. Like we don't play the
We
fucking
still got the United of old in our heads.
yeah. It's like we're too yeah. So yeah, I'm not loving these. Just don't embarrass me and let's just get to next season. I hate April because I just feel like
I don't say hate April. This is the month. This is the month the finest YouTuber was born. Come on, respect April a bit. But from a
oh,
footballer's
happy
sense,
belated birthday, by the way. I
thank
saw
you,
that.
Auntie.
It
Thank you,
looked
Auntie.
like
Thank you.
I feel like I saw a picture of you coming out of like a weird warehouse club like in the
What?
morning.
I went in nowhere. Weird warehouse club. I don't know. That must
It
be
was like
someone
one
else.
of
No,
those
no.
things where you party
I
all
don't go
night,
out.
and when you get out, it's like sunlight. I feel
I
like
don't. I don't go out, Jess. I've got no personal. I don't know,
yeah,
man.
you
I'm
do.
lonely, man. It's I'm only do YouTube vids. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I wanted to ask you as well. Yeah, like obviously we saw City go out, Arsenal out, and
Yeah.
you can never look past Liverpool coming back from the dead, like at the Atalanta game, even though that looks unlikely. How much of an impact do you think that 3 teams potentially? I know a couple of them are in other trophies, but only got the Prem to focus on. How much of an impact do you think that is for all of us in the Prem race?
I mean, it won't have any impact for us, but for City, it'll have an impact. Like I feel like they'll know that the FA Cup and the league are right there for them to kind of just have. Like I cannot see City dropping any points from now until the end of the season. Um
I wish I didn't agree.
yeah, I cannot see it. Liverpool look like they're going through a little bit of like kind of like a similar patch to us. Um but I just think it's City's to lose now and they won't lose it. They just when they get into this,
Got
you
nothing
know,
else to live for now, really.
yeah, exactly. And 2 domestic trophies, like they're probably gonna be able to do that. Like that's what I can see. So yeah, it's unfortunate the 4th one in a row, but unless like because I always hope like, well, maybe Arsenal will do no.
Listen, just in as you know in life, it's the hope
I
that
need to
kills,
stop.
man. So I want to be proven wrong. I'm sure you're the same, but it's the inevitable. Sorry for having your super chat on the screen for a while, Vegas Gunner. I appreciate it, and we appreciate you being part of the chat. Edu needs more blame in this. He spent a lot of money on dead players and struggles to sell players. We should have better depth based on money spent. Now, I want to know Jess's thought, but for me personally, 1 second, folks.
Ignore that. Ignore it.
For me
Ignore it.
personally, as I was saying before, Jess sent a private message. For me personally, I don't think you can blame Edu on that. I think you can get at him for selling and doing better in selling, but the Cronkies have provided the money. Edu could say to Arteta, I think maybe you should spend this here or that. But if he's said, I want Kai Havertz, I want this, I want that, and the man's brought it to you, how much can you blame the director? If you tell him if the chef asks you to go to the shop and get X amount of ingredients, you bring the ingredients and the meal he cooks is rubbish or not up to par, you can't blame him if he brought you that. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it just depends on how internally this season is actually being viewed. Is if it's being viewed as an underwhelming season, like
They're
from
not
the
doing
fans'
that.
perspective, it's being viewed as an underwhelming season. If for Edu and Arteta, it's like a step in the right direction, then I feel like
And
they
it's
will
just
feel
that.
like they made the right decisions. But you know, I do think that when you take a big swing on a player like Havertz, and I'm sorry, I have to go back to it because it's just such a big thing. And we don't really get that much better. We got better in certain ways, but we mostly got different. We didn't actually get better. And so I feel like
That's harsh. We've improved a little bit, but just not enough.
but it's marginal, I feel
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I agree with that.
yeah, so I think it's like a marginal improvement. And so I feel like when you take a big swing like that and you don't really see maybe the levels of improvement that you feel like you maybe should have. I don't know what the plan was. They have to look at it as like, okay, so when we go into this window, how much are we going to give Mikel and how much are we going to push back? You know, are we going to go with what we felt like we should have done last summer? Or are we going to give him more power? I think Mikel has a little bit too much power, not power. Like, I don't feel like he shouldn't have any, but I do feel like he kind of has carte blanche. And the last couple of windows have showed that maybe like he needs to be reeled in just a little bit, you know, because there was like rumors and like reports of the transfer team or like, the recruitment team not really being on board with the Kai Havertz, but they did it because that's what Mikel wanted. And they literally have to look, they have to look at it and say, what did we really gain from bringing in this dude?
I,
What
I don't know what we gained from bringing in Kai Havertz. I'm not trying to diss him. I'm not trying to do the
Yeah.
reactionary thing, but we've kind of got at best what we think. We've got more of a tune out of him than Chelsea. Chelsea can point to him what he won the Champions League.
I don't want to have to get a tune out of a player that's
This is
65
it, because
million.
as you said earlier, Jess, we signed a centre mid, we signed a striker. Kai Havertz saying in the strongest 11. Yeah, squad and games, and he could do his thing. Myth. So you're right. You're bang on the money there. Love for the other super chat. Aye, Rance is moving, man. Rance, Laos, man. Laos, Rance, man. He's having a field day. I see him call Bukayo Saka. What did he call him? Even though I don't laugh at Saka, he called him Victor Moses with GCSE. This guy is a madman. Love for the super chat. Why can't Partey get 30 minutes? Just no bias. Take the floor.
Personally, I think some of it is if you guys watch some of the little like cameos that he has,
It's been
as
hit and
much
miss.
as people want to gas like a pass here and there, he's not up to it. And Partey, you guys, be serious. You know him. You've had him in your team for 4 years. He takes time to get up to speed, and to just throw him in is so risky because he's not the athletic, quick guy that you guys think he is.
He's the uncle,
So
man.
yeah, and he's also
Too
not
much
somebody
Super
that
Bowl.
he doesn't really have like an amazing track record in big games anyway, as much as people try to make it seem like he
Oh,
does. He
that's
doesn't.
hard. That's
He
harsh. That's
doesn't.
hard.
He
There you
doesn't.
are.
He
Old
doesn't. He
Trafford
doesn't.
with Bernene. I think you're being harsh, Jess, on him. You're harsh. City
No.
come off the bench. Did the Manzolini
No, guys.
set up one of the chances? Was it against Bayern? I think you're
No.
harsh. I do think he's underwhelmed since we've signed him, but that one there is harsh, Jess, man. That's mad harsh on Partey.
He allowed Caicedo and Lavia to come to the Emirates and own his patch. Those
Yeah,
weren't even
Partey
massive
get bullied all the
games.
time. Rice bullied him over there. Bear man get bullied. Bear man get bullied.
I
Kimiro's
mean,
been bullied.
he's not who people say he is in big games. He pulled a muscle against Spurs and what?
He's
Sat
bullied
in the
Spurs a
middle of the
couple
pitch
times.
on a like on a counterattack? Like, no, he's not. Listen, I think he's gone.
He just made a cotton, man.
I think he's gone. He wasn't trusted in this run-in despite being fit. But that Bayern cameo was not amazing. And so it's also would have been a risk to put him out there. Because the one thing about
You wouldn't
Bayern
have
is
due for him yesterday, though. I would have, like last 20 minutes, I was at that point, like, fuck it, man. Like, if we're going to use you, might as well use you now, innit? I know there's still
been
big
several
tests, but fuck
games
it.
this season where you could have used Partey, but he didn't come on. Like, he was on the bench against Chelsea away, and he never came on.
So there's clearly underlining issues, man.
Yeah,
really.
something is going on, and I don't know what it is. I'm projecting, but listen, it's just time to move on. Like, I don't know what to tell y'all.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's time to meet. Like, Partey I don't know what I'd rank your time at Arsenal. I'd give you a 6. It could have been so much better. I would say the injuries have been an issue. There's only been a couple of times where I think you've played to the Thomas Partey where you look like in the YouTube comps. Other than that, you've been a myth. We've got about 5 minutes, people, and I don't want to miss out anything. So I just want to whiz through these questions you have for Jess. Obviously, big up you lot who've asked these questions. It's all for you. First one, do you feel the... Huh? You say?
Oh, I'm looking at these questions. I'm like,
oh, do you want me to zoom in?
No, I got it. Go ahead.
Because I'm a nice guy, because the last stream, you should see the comments. People, oh my God, you're being so horrible to Jess. Your Warriors came. So I'm being extra nice today. Hopefully you repay that when we go over to your channel, but making sure it's cool.
Guys, I was abused.
Do you feel the level we're at? What? Do you feel the level we are at that we are close to scratching the ceiling? Also, thoughts on both time frame you're willing to give Arteta the job still? So how long you're willing to give him, I guess?
I mean, just on how much time I'm willing to give him. Can you all ask me that at the end of the season? It really depends on how badly we slide. Like, genuinely. Because I said quarterfinals of the Champions League is what I kind of expected. And then
I was saying last 16 still.
Yeah, and if we lose the league, we need to be within like a point.
I didn't know we
slide like we did last season. So listen, I feel like I have one more season of Mikel, and like I have one more season. I have one, maybe. I think I have one. After that, I don't. And I have one. And if he doesn't do what he needs to do in the summer, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I really don't.
He can be his own worst enemy at times, man. He needs in my opinion, he needs a David Dean, man. Like how you said that people didn't really necessarily agree with the Kai Havertz thing. David Dean used to stop Wenger from moving a bit too mad and going the other way. It feels like he needs that. And I'm not criticizing Arteta, but we all know it's Kroenke here. Arteta's the big dog. All these other people around him, they're just here for no reason to a point. They're here to help him. If Arteta says he wants something, he gets it. I think we need someone that can save him from madness, really and truly.
Somebody needs to tell him no.
Yeah, seriously. Like allow it, bro. Like allow it. Like allow it.
You can't be going from Mount Gundogan profile to Kai Havertz. You just can't. Somebody had to say.
I wonder how Mount would have looked like here. To be fair,
I think he would have been good for us, but that's just me. Next question.
Is Mikel really and truly going to take us to the next level and help us win a major? / are the owners, just happy with top 4?
Like with the last question, I don't know whether or not it's so up in the air. We could get the striker and the midfielder next summer and get it done, or we could still be in this same like crumble. I think that's what, as long as they don't, I don't feel like we have all the pieces that we need to genuinely win the Champions League or the Premier League.
We ain't got the depth, man.
That's for the how
Prem
I
as well. Champs is a different ball game. It's about mentality and all of that. But we ain't got the depth for the Prem.
Yeah. So my thing is like, once he gets those things, and I know some people be like, "You want to give him more money?" I'm like, guys.
Well, how else is it gonna work?
Yeah, I need to see him with a striker and a midfielder to know, because if he has those things, which I genuinely feel like we are missing to really be able to compete the way we want. If he still can't get us over the line, then then it's done for me. But I know some people want him gone now. And I know it's like one of those things where people are like, well, I'm not the managers or I'm not Edu, so I don't need to figure this out. But I don't see any like candidates either that like obviously make us into winners either.
Right.
So I need him to get that striker and that midfielder. But there's got to be a grown up in the room. There's got to be a grown-up in the room. Get a bagsman and get a real left center mid. And
sometimes football can be simple, man. Just get the right. Not as much as I like Arteta's innovativity about stuff. Sometimes specialists keep it moving. Like Declan Rice, you do your little 8 thing with him, but he's a specialist in what he does. Keep it moving. Last 2 questions, because some of them we've kind of answered with the greatest of respect. Yeah. Trevor Dominic has said, "Who do you think is most to blame for our capitulation, and how would you manage the situation if you were the owner?" I think it's the manager and the players. Really.
Yeah, I think it's Mikel. Because no matter who the players are, it happens every April. And so I have to think it's the way that we're set up. I think it's the way that we've approached transfer windows. I think it's the way that he hasn't rotated the squad. Our players just don't look up for big games where you have to win or go home. And I think that a lot of that is the manager. That's
fact.
That's it.
Like, every success, it's like if you're a business, if you own a business, like, yeah, you might be a businessman and you might not be there day to day, but any successes or failures, it's your fault. In the same way I praise Mikel Arteta and Edu and the players for what they do, I have everything indirectly goes to them. Like, I know the Cronkies didn't have the best of reputation at Arsenal, but I think in the last few years, you can't do this KSC out thing just getting onto them. They have kind of mimic what they do with the other clubs. They've put certain man in position, they've given the money, and like Jess said, if you're they're not telling you to spend 65 million on Havertz. They're not telling you to do these things. If you're doing these things, you live or die by it, innit? So it's on them. It's on them.
Awesomeness Sports, like the thing about the leader, name a team that has won a major honor that didn't already have winners in it, either the manager or players. We are trying to do something that's never been heard of. New manager that's never managed before, young team with a lot of like newbies. They need, like I said, some grown-ups in the room. If Mikel is going to stay, you have to buy players that have won before. That's why when people were like, no, I don't want Kimmich, I was like, be freaking for real.
Kimmich just showed you why you need him. Like, I wanted him before, but he just showed you why you need him. Give him whatever he wants and bring him.
That's like simple. The two players that we bring in, the striker and the midfielder, at least one of them has got to have some pedigree behind them.
And we need some cunts as well, man. We got too much nice guys, unfortunately. Nice guys don't get anywhere. Thierry Henry wasn't a nice guy. The Invincibles were not nice guys. They'll help your mum across the road with the shopping, but they weren't nice guys. We've got too many nice guys. Like, I love Saka, but you need to. This is why I might be being a bit negative. When I'm seeing him take a little tumble easily, this is what I want to see. Welcome to the dark side. Like, we can't be nice. Last question, people, because we're running over time, yeah? This is a great question from me, from Matt, really. Which player do you think has improved the most under Arteta, Jess? I think there's two, you know.
Probably, I'll say Gabriel's probably one of them.
I was gonna say
and I don't know.
Come on, our guy, man.
Is Odegaard?
It has to be our guy. Like, because come on, look how far he's gone. People were saying, "Oh, I won't bring Dio." Look at him.
I mean, I guess I don't think of Odegaard because I was like, I thought he was like amazing anyway. So I'm like, okay, maybe not him because he didn't come from like, but yeah, maybe Odegaard. I think Odegaard is so much more well-rounded.
Maybe Saka and Benjamin as well, slightly, because Saka just keeps scoring goals. Benjamin White, people didn't want the guy. Yeah, I'll give it Gabriel.
It's Gabriel because he was not really rated when we first got him. Not that
he had
highly,
a lot more stupid
and now
moments.
He's a serious center back. So yeah, I would say Gabriel.
So there you have it, man. Obviously, people, the show don't stop because I'm sure we're going to go over a lot of these talking points again on Jess's platform and anything else. Make sure you lot that are from Jess's platform, you're kind to me. Look, we put up the white flag. There's been no problems. So allow me. Of course, it's always fantastic having Jess here. Again, let us know where we can find you, even though you're pinned in the title of the video, because we're going over there now, folks.
Yeah, guys, just put in She Knows Arsenal in the search bar and I will pop up.
So there you have it. We appreciate your talking points, differences of opinions, questions, super chats, etc., etc. Come and join us for an extended Arsenal chat. And she's late by 4 minutes. I apologize. It's my fault. Peace.
Always just that active and defending. I think